warned you.
Where did he go?
Oh, he sent a message. He said he lost power. Jason is on his way as well. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Today we're going to be recapping Strange New Worlds Under the Cloak of War. This is episode 8. You know all of us. We know that 2 people are going to be joining us. And let's start with our intro. Marie, give us that recap.
I was wondering how you were going to lead into that. So this is Strange New Worlds episode 8, season 2, Under the Cloak of War. And it concerns General Doc Ra, who is now turned Federation ambassador. The problem is that General Doc Ra was also known as the Butcher of Jagal. We have heard Jagal referenced before, if y'all remember back early in the season when M'Benga describes a place, where a moon, Jagal, where the rain ran red. So to have this individual aboard the Enterprise is complicated, to say the least, for a number of the crew members. Everyone from Erica Ortegas to Nurse Chapel, finally to Dr. M'Benga. Pike is like, we have orders from on high. We have to be nice. So be nice. And M'Benga's like, all right, I can do this. I will do this. I will do this. Erica's like, I can't do this. And we're all like, yes, you can. And we have the world's most awkward dinner in which effectively Erica Ortegas blows up. And and then Nurse Chapel finds it difficult, and M'Benga ultimately goes and follows Erica Ortegas. The structure of the episode is twofold. There's the flashback sequences to the moon of Jagal and the forward operating base there, and then the current events that are going on with now Ambassador Ra. What happens on Jagal is that the fighting is intense. It's very, very intense. Nurse Chapel gets beamed there and assigned there as head nurse, despite the fact that she's brand new. She meets a younger Joseph M'Benga. It's hopeless. Things are going badly. The Klingons begin slaughtering everyone. Everyone. And to drive that point home, they take an injured child off the transporter pad. FYI. An Andorian commando, Trask, informs M'Benga that he needs the ghost. We flash forward. We have the world's most awkward dinner. Ra is talking about all these peacetime things that he's doing. All these negotiations he's doing and talking himself up. And Ortegas walks out. Nurse Chapel's done. M'Benga's done. Ra attempts to befriend M'Benga and says, I would like to engage with you in one of your full contact Mokbara sessions. And M'Benga's like, okay, I can do that. They go. It turns out that General Ra, despite the use of his cane, Ambassador Ra, is actually pretty adept at it. And the two of them start discussing it. And ultimately, Joseph M'Benga comes down on, no, I can't do this. I don't want to do this, and I'm not going to. So I would really like you to leave me alone. And that's when we get another flash forward or flashback to Jagal, and we see Joseph M'Benga taking a knife off the body of Trask, handing some Protocol 12, which we now know is the name for the adrenaline painkiller cocktail that they took, the green stuff, if you're paying attention, to Nurse Chapel and says, get everybody out. And Joseph M'Benga goes off into the darkness to go do who knows what. We flash forward back to sickbay, and Ra is once again trying desperately to convince M'Benga to befriend him, because the argument is that if Ra can befriend M'Benga, who was at Jagal, that would be a powerful symbol. And he's not wrong. Unfortunately, Mabenga's just not there. And while they're having this conversation, Mabenga has opened up a case, and in it we see, I believe it's a daktag. Is that what it is? The name of the knife? That it turns out Mabenga took, because Mabenga is the true butcher of Jagal. He's the one who slaughtered the Klingon generals, not Ambassador Ra, who'd taken credit for it effectively when he defected to the Federation. And he says no again. Ra doesn't take no for an answer. The next thing we know, we're actually watching from behind frosted glass doors an altercation that ends in Ambassador Ra's death. A brief inquest, is what I'm going to call it, with Pike has Mabenga looking at Pike saying, I didn't start it. Terstapel says he didn't start it. And the knife seems to corroborate the story that Ra is the butcher of Jagal. And Pike ultimately comes and checks with his friend later. And I think this is my favorite sequence of the whole thing, because they talk about justice and they talk about reform and they talk about second chances. And ultimately, Mabenga looks at him and says, you have the privilege to see the good in people, but you haven't lived my life. And then he goes on to say, I didn't start that fight, but I'm glad he's dead. And it's almost a symbolic slaying of his memories of Jagal and an acceptance of his own brokenness. And that's what happens in Under the Cloak of War.
Well done, Marie.
So there are a couple things I think are bear talking about. Before we get to the snarl that is Mabenga, I want to talk a little bit about diplomacy here and how this is an utter fail on Ra's part. Because one of the most important things about diplomacy is recognizing the other party's position and recognizing what they really want and accepting that sometimes you're going to get a hard no. And Ra refuses to take that because he's allowing his own personal agenda to drive that entire negotiation, because that's effectively what it is. It's a negotiation with Mabenga because Ra has an agenda, Ra has something he wants, and Mabenga doesn't, except to be left alone.
I have a question about the plot before we take the deep analyzation dive. I kind of got what transpired, but I didn't quite understand. So I understand that Mabenga was there, so he knew that dude was lying, and that he quite literally slaughtered and screwed them up. Okay, where exactly was the Klingon in this? Like, he wasn't there. He ran away. Like, what happened?
Yes, he ran away.
So there were 3 Klingon generals. There was Kif, there was Rulis, is that what it was?
Rulis,
And Ra, Doc Ra. And basically the assignment that Trask, Starfleet Special Ops, was initially given was to go and assassinate these 3 generals and, cut off the Klingon forces at the head, basically. Trask fails because that final push was basically a meat grinder and was probably 100% fatal for everybody involved. And so that's why Mabenga picks up the knife and proceeds to complete the mission, which is what he tells Chapel. So he ninja'd his way up and then did the stabby stab.
While Klingon dude ran away.
And he ran away.
So really,
Rulis actually held him back, I believe.
In Klingon culture, he was a coward, which is why he said, I didn't want to be labeled as a coward, so I'd much rather be labeled as like the butcher. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
Because at the end of the day, Doc Ra didn't actually embrace peace. He embraces shame.
So he was like a combination of Jatrell and that Cardassian dude who tried to pretend he was.
It really reminded me a lot of both of those episodes.
Yeah.
A lot. Except I think there was a more legitimate pursuit of reform for Jatrell and everybody's favorite Cardassian, who is not actually a war crime. war criminal.
Yeah, he was just the secretary, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you say Jatro?
From Voyager, yeah.
From Voyager.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, remember it's the weapon that destroyed Neelix's family?
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
best
yeah. I
communication.
remember because I thought of that. I thought of that as well.
Yeah.
But this one turned out not to actually be that.
Right.
Sort of.
Right.
Although
It-
he did get the
Well,
order
no.
to slaughter civilians, which is a
No.
fairly
Right.
big issue.
No, he did the horrible things. It's
so
one
he
thing
did
that
do
every-
those horrible things. I'm trying to figure out at what point did he run away? He
No,
That was at
remember
the
that whole
end,
business
like
where
the
we
last-
see M'Benga like in the process of battling a Klingon? That's when he
Yeah.
snuck out.
so basically he pulled a Hitler and just bolted.
Bingo.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
yeah, he saw
Okay.
M'Benga coming and he ran.
Coming around the mountain with he came.
Oh, dude.
That is not. That is no.
Did you mention where the title of the show came from?
No, I did not. You want to take it?
Yeah, it's a quote by Albert Einstein. It is my conviction that killing under the cloak of war is nothing but an act of murder.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
that's definitely when you consider how M'Benga looks at being the butcher. He sees it as murder, not an act of war. That's why.
Mm.
And that's what he was doing.
Yes.
He was. I mean, while he tells,
I
while he
often.
tells
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
despite the fact that he tells Chapel that he's going to complete the mission, that was vengeance.
Yes.
Mm.
That was vengeance for that ensign that got killed. That was vengeance for the guy that they put in the buffer and had to delete.
Alvarado, that was vengeance
Mhm.
for Trask.
Yes. And every other Federation life lost in this horrible war.
So
Well, they don't do a lot of like showing about how the war affects people. I mean, Benjamin Sisko is, Wolf 359. Every once in a while, somebody else will pop up from Wolf 359.
Shaw.
But it's Shaw,
Yeah.
right? And then in Discovery, they had Tyler.
No.
And actually, somebody set me straight because I was like, that doesn't make sense. He's fine. And then all of a sudden, he's, having some PTSD. And somebody's had to like explain to me, like, no, that's exactly how it can happen. PTSD, you can just be a normal, and one little thing can just set you off into a frenzy of not even being able to control yourself. But anyway, my point is, I think it's nice that they're like showing some aftermath of this huge war. I mean, it was really big.
It
Yes.
only lasted a year, but still, that was.
I actually forgot how long the Klingon Federation, well, the first one, lasted. Like,
I mean, but that year was a game changer.
Right. I mean, when Discovery got back and you saw how much territory they had lost, the Federation had lost.
I think it was.
Even
I
though
think they
Discovery had a whole season in the war, we never saw ground action. We only saw spaceship battles. So
Right, because they
And
were
this
in a
was
war.
And this was definitely ground action. I think the choice to make Jagal an FOB was deliberate.
Yeah.
Because I think we're also getting into some metaphorical explorations of the American military complex as well.
Mhm.
But by the way, them focusing on the medical aspect of the war, I think was, well, number one, we knew this was coming, right? Eventually we knew this was coming, but it reminded me so much of the television show MASH.
MASH!
Yeah.
There were so many MASH vibes.
I'm literally humming the theme song to myself. I'm like,
Even the Benga being
Not
in
as-
the
not
tub.
as funny.
There was a whole episode of MASH about them making a tub and everyone lining up to get a turn. So
By the way, what's his real name? I don't know. I can't. Babs or whatever. Sex symbol.
Yeah.
I'm in love with your boy.
I mean,
yeah.
but also can we just talk about how amazingly he carried this episode, because this is very much a M'Benga episode.
Wonderful.
When he first saw Raw and was like, almost collapsed in his office from.
I was going to say, was that a heart attack or an anxiety attack? What was that?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Mhm.
Because what's interesting about this particular episode is, and I like that Jason brings up post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is certainly legitimate, and I don't want to take away from people who are suffering that. I think the episode very carefully does not give Mbenga PTSD, because the question we're meant to be debating is whether or not he actually did stab Ra, if he did that unprovoked.
I think
he
killed
still is.
himself.
I think that is a form of PTSD that he's suffering from, the anxiety that he's showing. It's not it's not necessarily paralyzing him, but he's definitely suffering from it. That's what that is.
Well, PTSD is a very specific, DSM recognized disorder, and I don't think that's what they're trying for here. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to explore accountability.
Speaking of accountability, I think
And
now
choice.
that we're here, now that I think about it, I think that dude killed himself, and they made it seem like it was like a self-defense kill to retain whatever Klingon honor he had left. Because Klingons don't like to commit suicide, right?
No, that's not what happened.
I don't think it was suicide. There was something, I don't know, and it's kind of like my tagline. I know it's kind of hard to see. Part of what he said was a selfish human. So if he's a selfish human, like it's going back to the conversation that he was trying to have with Dr. Mbenga. Basically, like he wanted Dr. Mbenga to be his counterpart, and because Mbenga was he wasn't having it. He wasn't thinking about killing himself. He was only thinking about what he wanted, going back to something that Marie said earlier. So because he was only thinking about what he wanted, he wasn't thinking about killing himself. So yeah, he might have, felt some type of shame, but killing himself, no, he wanted someone else to be his counterpoint.
In a way, what he wanted was Mbenga's forgiveness, because if Mbenga could forgive him for the atrocities that happened on Jagal, then that would have been yet more evidence that he was a good person and that he was not.
Then clearly he wasn't reading what Mbenga was.
No, and that's my point. That was my point, is that he was not.
My thing is he kept touching Mbenga, and he was like, if you don't get your dirty damn hands off me, you ugly ass Klingon. Like, all I could think about was, man, I would have given him that Planet of the Apes line. Get your hands off me. You keep touching me. Why do you keep touching me?
But that's I think that was also a beautiful decision on the part of Dakra's actor too, because that was very much a blatant disregard for Mbenga's agency and his bodily integrity. And that really tells you what you need to know about who he is at heart.
Looking like a predator from Wish.
No, just a predator, period.
Because the way they hate this.
Since we're talking about it,
that kind of predator.
The Yautja. Anyway, go ahead, Jermaine.
Since we're talking about it, why do you think they chose to go back to the TNG?
I was just thinking about that because the fans didn't like it.
I mean, I know that, but at a certain point, like, I mean,
yeah. What's the question?
Because I think they're actually not making. I think they're making an allusion to Laurel's transformation. In the last time we see her is when she begins to sport that just a fantastic Klingon mane.
William, we're talking about the Klingon makeup. How they seem to have gone back.
Someone told me a couple of Trekkers Delight episodes ago that these are a different sect of Klingons, and that the human-looking Klingons are still out there somewhere.
No.
Look,
hey! Discovery proved that we got white Klingons, so I'm pretty sure that there's. Look, I'm just saying, like, if we got white Klingons, I'm pretty sure there's some human Klingons that feel some kind of way, and they're on a distant planet somewhere. Like Kor, Kang, Koloth, they over there somewhere.
But it's not even necessary. Why can't people just say that's what they decided to do as creators of the show? Make them look different and change the way they look. It doesn't have to be a story behind it,
Yeah,
sure, one day I'll make another story.
That's me. That's me. I love stories. I love waiting 20 years and then giving an explanation of one that fits. Like that's me. Like that's what I love.
But yeah, no.
In this case, 40. Well, damn near 50. But
I think
where are those Klingons at?
I don't know. Okay,
they were at the beginning of the episode and previously on.
I know, and they legit pull up from the Ship of the Dead.
Did they?
Yeah.
I gotta see that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the clip from Battle of the Binary Stars.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta see that again. I kind of rushed through it because I'm not even
You had stuff.
I'm in a hotel right now.
And we are very grateful that you came to join us anyway.
I was downstairs. I'm like, oh my god, it's 8:40. When I came upstairs to be with you people. I left those people to be with you people. You know what I mean?
And we love you for
I
it.
was just about to say.
I was gonna say you people.
Yeah,
who's you people?
I mean, when
Say that one. Say that one.
I'm in Illinois right now. I forget what state I'm in.
But yeah,
watch next week.
There was a lot of thematic stuff.
There's water in this, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
There's a lot of thematic stuff in this episode. I mean, I think this is possibly one of my favorite episodes.
I think I liked it very much as well.
I even liked how Chapel was talking to Spock, and she was just like, basically, just leave me alone, dude. And he was just like, I get it, and he walked off. Like, I loved that. So,
so has Spock stopped smiling? Now I'm complaining that he didn't smile in this episode, and I complain that he smiles all the time. So now I'm wondering, just because now it's in the last.
It wasn't a Spock episode, so we didn't get.
But I think
it was not me. It was.
Jermaine.
I didn't do it.
Now, Jason, I loved your consistency until today. You gotta remain consistent.
Well, now I'm asking him to be consistent because we left off last episode with these smiles, and now they've created something. Like, I don't know what they were creating. What were they creating?
I think the decision here was to make Spock react to Chapel's emotional distress. And he's trying very hard to find ways to make this easier for her because it hurts him to see her so upset. And going back to Jermaine's point, I think there's a really awesome that moment is really awesome where Chapel asks for space and Spock gives it to her. That's good boyfriending, good partnering. And also when Spock goes up and basically interrupts Dakra's "I'm the greatest thing since ever," the greatest thing for peace since ever lecture by basically getting him to talk about something else so that Chapel didn't have to hear it.
Right.
So I think Spock himself was a little too rattled by watching his partner's pain to be pursuing his experiment in smiling. And I don't think he smiled in the bar sequence because, he managed to scorch the ambassador's hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I know what you're saying, Will. Like now I'm not even being consistent because I'm complaining that Spock's not smiling when I'm the one that complains about him smiling.
See what I'm talking about? Consistency and continuity. Like,
I mean, I gotta tell you, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds.
Well, that makes it even worse. Like last episode, they just threw those in there.
No, they didn't.
Now they're out.
No, they didn't. They were part of the plot. You had to see Boimler seeing a different Spock than what he knew Spock to be.
I'm actually kind of sad Boimler didn't have a crush on Spock.
Oh wow!
How do you know he didn't?
I mean,
like
there was so much hero worship. I don't know that he could have gotten to the crush part.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
definitely had a crush. Well, no, not really, but
I'm not a crush.
I would have thought he had a crush on number one.
Oh, he definitely. Had
he had to have. Well, we know Ransom. Like we know Ransom does.
No, but I really think that was just an allusion to the fact that Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romaine are married.
Yes.
That's true. That's true.
That is true.
Yes.
I didn't even think of it like that. Like, okay, first officers are married. Okay, in two different timelines, and Boimler connected both of them.
Now it's getting weird. Thanks.
I mean, Boimler seems like the guy in the middle. He seems like the virgin in the middle that they needed to break. Like, come on, y'all miss me.
Weird. I mean, I understand.
Y'all miss me.
For a second, I thought you were talking about a threesome. I was like, what's going on?
No,
exactly. I am. I am.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
was
Can
fun
you
having
ma-
Clint Howard back in this.
I would be down. You cannot
I know
tell
you would
me
be
that you would not pick
down.
one person from each show and time travel just to hook up with them.
However,
Sure.
we're gonna set that aside for a second. We just are.
I mean, if you have a TV show where nobody wants to smash anybody on that TV show, why are you?
What are you even doing?
First,
Acting like
first-
adults.
hiring these people. Who's
First,
hiring
I'll
these
start
people?
with Commander Tucker. And then, I mean, because, I got to do it right because, I'm from the South and I got to bring my boys home. Okay.
I mean,
like,
your first choice is Florida Man. Come on.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted them in that chamber a lot more than they showed.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I will say this, Connor Trenier, if you ever watch this is not a slight on you. By the way.
I mean, Florida man who has a line through his state and then becomes pregnant. Cool. I don't judge. It's 2023.
He did have some experiences.
He had some experiences, and
He's
then
looking
in
up,
POS,
oh my
I
God.
would probably go for.
He had that's like a Harry Kim experience. That's like a Harry Kim episode. He would be the one to get pregnant.
Oh no, I would do Harry Kim just because I feel sorry for him. Like.
You didn't mean that, Mr. Wang.
I'm just.
I mean, but
saying.
really, if there is ever going to be a character on Star Trek that gets a pity fuck, it's definitely going to be Ensign.
It's Harry, and the thing is, that's not even the real Harry. The other one is dead. He's dead. Like I'm gonna take care of him.
Now,
no, I do actually have.
Baby. So that's why Enterprise is a two-parter, okay? Because you got to understand, see, Tucker is like in the meat and potato.
So what we're actually going to do is we're going to return to Under the Cloak of War, and I'm going to ask all of
Mayweather is dessert, and you just got to have that chocolate on the side. You cannot tell me you don't want to go in and.
It's great seeing Clint Howard back in Star Trek again. His sixth appearance.
And that was nice, right? That was really, really nice. That he has now been. Hasn't he been in all of them now?
No, he did not appear in animated series or Next Generation or Deep Space. Well, no, he did do Deep Space Nine.
He did do Deep Space
because
Nine.
he was at the Bell Riot.
You're right about the.
He was at the Bell Riot.
Was at the Bell Riot.
And of course, he was an Orion trying to hit up Tilly in Disco.
Mm-hmm.
And
Discovery.
And of course, he was not on Voyager.
He drugged her, right? Didn't he drug Tilly?
Yes.
Now,
I know it would have been breaking the timeline, but I wish he would have lost a case of Tranya instead of Romulan ale. But
he wasn't in Voyager. He wasn't in Voyager.
No, I just said he wasn't in Voyager. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he is legitimately a Star Trek staple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was an infant in
the Corbomite maneuver.
The Corbomite maneuver. Mm-hmm. Wow, my brain is just not online, guys.
It's okay. This is what I'm here for. This is why you.
He was a funny looking little kid talking and having a whole.
Yeah, he was a perfect alien without any makeup whatsoever.
Right.
Are you talking about the man that we saw that was the baby in the original series?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I feel like, did he ever play as a Ferengi? Because I feel like I've seen him somewhere before.
Enterprise, he was a Ferengi. The Ferengi episode of Enterprise that doesn't make any sense with the timeline. He was a Ferengi, yes.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we just don't think about. We're just not going to think about it too hard.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it was good to see him again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go Clint.
So now he's in 4 different shows. TOS, Enterprise, Strange New Worlds, Discovery.
And a movie. He was in one of the movies.
Which movie?
Which movie was he in?
I can't remember. Was it Final Frontier? Was it Final Frontier?
I feel like it was because that's very much a Final Frontier kind of movie. I feel like if he were going to be anywhere, he would be on the planet of galactic peace.
Yeah, one of those Sandman.
They should have had him be the god of Shakari. That's what he should have been.
No, I'm pretty sure if he was the god of Shakari, that movie would have met Marie's approval.
No,
he wasn't in one of the movies.
No. Shatner lost me with a triple-breasted cat girl. To be fair,
I ain't gonna lie, and you never saw that triple-breasted. We've seen the feline species, but we never seen a triple-breasted cat girl that's furless ever again.
We haven't seen
that was
Kahana
one of
with
the-
her shirt off, so I don't know.
That was a great line by Kirk though in that movie when he was like, "What does God need with a spaceship?"
Yes, line in
Oh,
American
he's been
cinema.
waiting to say that line. He's been waiting to
Yes,
say
line
that
in
line.
American cinema.
I guarantee that wasn't even his line. I think Leonard Nimoy said, "Hey, this is what you need to say."
No, I think
But-
Shatner probably dreamed that one back in the 60s and just held it onto it for it.
But the fact that they made it to the center of the galaxy within a movie's
Again.
time is
Well, when you have Scotty as the engineer,
nah.
No.
No. They have a whole series about the fact that they have to do 75%
or maybe
of that.
maybe they found a wormhole.
No, it was well established where the Klingons, Romulans, and Federation meet in Beta Quadrant, and here they had to go to the center of the galaxy, which should have been like a 50,000 light year journey that they
Should have been a
somehow were
50.
able to do in a matter of minutes.
Right.
Star
And
Trek
If they
magic.
could, yes,
Star Trek magic.
and if they could do it, that what happened with Voyager?
Right.
What
Dang.
the fuck?
All right. So getting back to the under the cloak of war, do we think M'Benga started that fight, or does
Well,
it
here's
matter?
my thing. In a sense, no, because I consider the fight to be started when he put his hands on him after he repeatedly said, "Leave me alone."
Okay.
That's to me is where it started. What do y'all think?
Yes, but you have to understand how Klingons work as well. Right? That's good for a human to say that, but it's probably, as far as Klingons are concerned, that's not like something you would do. You can't, I mean, you wouldn't just be like, get your hands off me and expect a Klingon to be like, okay, it doesn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ra was probably even more pissed off that M'Benga was telling them to leave than anything else. Especially since Ra needed M'Benga, he wanted him to be part of his roadshow.
Exactly.
Would have rather had him dead.
Nope. He
No,
needs
he
M'Benga.
wanted M'Benga because he was at Jagal. Even before he knew he was the real butcher of Jagal, he needed him because he wanted someone else to help tell his story.
Right, but now that he knows the truth, he could out him and show everybody
Well,
that
which
he was.
means you want him closer now than because then you
Than
can
ever.
keep an eye on him. Yeah.
But I also think it's too easy to write off Dakra as being completely wrong, right? As just a complete aggressor and in pursuit of various things. The thing is, he's not wrong about the power of a symbol.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
And
yeah.
he's also not wrong to point out that if you let this kind of hate fester and you don't thanks, Marie.
Hey, it was a very good day. Like,
but he's also right that if you allow these emotions to fester, that it's going to eat you up inside.
Right.
So and Dakra did do. I'm starting to sound like a Dakra apologist, and I'm not. But he did do a lot of good in the period of time after Jagal. And the question becomes, does it matter why he did it?
Can I take a...
No, it doesn't. I mean, all he did was good. You could say in the Klingon War, all he did was good. We just weren't on the side of it.
No.
To the Klingons, yes.
I mean, I can't see the Klingons looking at the slaughter of children as being honorable.
Oh yeah, he did slaughter children and shit like that. That's probably bad. That's probably bad.
Yeah, no, like seriously, like what honor is there in like shooting a kid? None.
So I'm
wow, this got dark.
So I have a question about that. Well, not necessarily. Okay.
And that's the point. Actually, Marie, that's the point I was getting to, because there's a really great line that Una has, which is everyone is on their own journey, and you have to respect that journey. You can push, for sure, and some of us occasionally need a good swift kick to the where. But at the end of the day, you can't force people to heal, and that's what Dakra wanted to do.
And you can try. You can still try.
Can I take a minute to question? I'm sorry, Kevin. Keith, go ahead.
Kevin Keith.
Why you got? This is why I hate going by my name, because people keep calling me Kevin, which is my brother's name, and that.
I didn't even know you had a brother named Kevin. Like,
okay, sorry.
What's your other brother's name? Kenny?
Yes. Okay.
are you serious?
But I talk now.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You know what? Just yeah.
What? Go ahead. What? Keith left the show.
Oh no, he's taking a breather, and that's fine. I really didn't know he had a brother named Kevin. I really didn't. Who keeps bringing him in and out?
In and out.
I am seriously not touching any buttons.
I am not either.
I've touched my
I think
buttons.
that might be his connection.
No, it's not his connection.
All right, Keith,
Let's
what do you got?
me back in before I'm ready to come back. But okay, all right. Sorry. Yes, I am the youngest of 3 sons: Kenneth, Kevin, and Keith. And add insult to injury, in Irish, Kenneth means handsome. Kevin means handsome and fair. Keith means from the forest.
I love the forest. What's wrong with that?
So that means you smoked that forest, right?
First of all, you're American. Your name isn't
Puff, puff, daddy.
Dude, you did get shafted.
Well, he doesn't drink, so
He doesn't drink, so like,
Nope. Don't do that either.
well.
All right.
Okay,
Let's get off
okay.
Keith's family.
Okay, power symbol. We had this in those old scientists. The symbol of the Orions getting credit for finding the portal.
Mm-hmm.
How important that was to Orion society, that they're not just pirates, that they are scientists themselves, which adds to an extra meaning of the title of the episode. And here we have the symbol of what Ra is, that he killed his own generals because he was sick of this war. And now we know he didn't. And he just ran away, but he used that symbol to build this whole thing of him being a peacemaker. And it's all lies, but it's the importance of the symbol to society.
Do we think we're going to see more Orions in the next season?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to develop them as a species.
You have 2 episodes left, but we don't have any more Orions this season.
But yeah, I mean, I think that is an important question that we're meant to ask too. Is at what point? Yeah, stolen valor, ish, ish. But at what point does the importance of the symbol begin to outweigh the past? And and does that have a nexus with allowing someone to have a second chance?
I think people deserve second chances.
It's like it wasn't the issue of second chances per se. It's more like it was a lie built on a tragedy. Like it's something that he was doing today, right now. Like we're not even talking about what he did 3-4 years ago. We're talking about what he's doing right now, living on a lie when the slaughter of Butcher of Jagal was literally on the Enterprise the whole time.
I think if he could have admitted to Mabinga, hey, look, the truth is I only killed one person. I didn't kill the other 2. I think Mabinga would have been like, okay, I get it. I understand. And it wouldn't have turned out the way that it did. Mm-hmm. But because he wasn't willing to admit the truth,
why would he admit the truth? First of all, when you're living a lie, why would you admit the truth?
He's talking one-on-one with one person who has admitted that he was there.
I mean, and has admitted that he is in fact the Butcher of Jagal.
He didn't know how much he knew at the time, so why would he?
No, he didn't. But if you're trying to coax someone to be on your side, to be the person that would stand with you, that's a moment where you could get him to say, you know what? If I tell this truth, he will understand what I'm trying to do.
And I guess my question to you is, does that matter?
Well, it matter in terms of what?
Does it matter that it becomes this a grand self-aggrandizement, so long as it's almost does the end justify the means? Ultimately, Mbenga doesn't think so. and Mbenga is in the process of trying to cope with, with what's going on and how he feels about it. And that's the really awful thing about the biobed as a metaphor, right? Which is this whole thing of, some things are just broken beyond repair and can only be managed. Does it though? It doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't always.
Right.
Unless you have someone who's willing to speak truth to power.
Right.
Which is why
this is kind of like Batman. This is like Batman when Batman,
the Dark Knight, at the end of Dark Knight. Yeah.
The Dark Knight. Yeah, when he said, you can be the hero. You're the hero that they need, or something like that. And it was fine for Batman to be the bad guy. That was just living a lie.
Batman is not the hero Gotham needs. It's the hero Gotham deserves.
Right.
So you point from the end of the Dark Knight.
So that was a lie that was just going to live on, Yeah.
And at what point does the lie? Does the lie stop mattering? It's really. Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I was talking about earlier, right? When, I like his whole interaction with Mbenga is just a marked failure of negotiation. Because he got a hard no and should have recognized.
Should have kept his hands to himself.
Also true.
That too.
Yes.
Well, there's also, you've told the lie so many times that to you it almost has become the truth.
And then even after you got called out, you stood on it. That's my problem. He stood on it.
And I think that's why Mbenga ultimately did what he did. I think if he had admitted the truth, it would have been a totally different outcome.
Look,
maybe. Maybe. Because the thing is at a certain point, I don't know that Mbenga was ever going to be able to forgive Dahra, because Mbenga also has to tell himself this line that Dahra made him a monster.
Not forgive, but he wouldn't have killed him.
Because he showed in the match room that he could have mollywopped his right then, but he stopped. And now you see at the end, which I assume, I'm going to say Mbenga killed him in self-defense. But now he's just like, look, I warned you. I warned you. I did what the captain told me to do. I went by the book. You put your hands on me. You stood on your lie after we have a conversation about it. And meanwhile, you're spending the whole week on this ship lying to everyone that you were this ex-butcher, when meanwhile you're talking to me and I'm right here. It's not so much of can we forgive what he did on Jagal? It's not so much that. It's like, what were you doing now? And it's like, even as I'm listening, the part I did understand is, even after you got caught and you're feeling sorry for yourself, you stood on it.
The thing is that at one point, Mbenga has a line where he says something to the effect of, "You're taking you've been capitalizing on the blood on my hands."
There it is. Right there.
So you can't separate what's going on from Jagal, and the episode is right to point that out.
Yeah.
And that's true. That is absolutely true.
Knowing that this is Star Trek, is there some sort of historical comparison that we can compare this episode to something today that we know in our history? Do we know any crazy generals or ex-generals that did some mess and tried to take credit for something they didn't do, other than
the other thing that really was playing in my head when I was watching this episode? Has anybody else seen the Fog of War with Robert McNamara?
No.
I've seen the trailer for it. I haven't seen the actual documentary.
It's impressive, right? Because there's an entire conversation with McNamara. And so we get into Vietnam, right, because of the domino theory. Right. The idea is that, communism is going to keep spreading. And whereas the Vietnamese are sitting there going, we've been fighting against China for hundreds of years. No, that was never going to happen.
Right.
And when confronted with that truth, and anybody who'd ever studied Vietnamese history or Vietnamese culture knew that, And there are memos to that effect from the time period. Robert McNamara just refuses to acknowledge it. Just doesn't. Talks around it. I mean, beautifully, but he does. And that there was something about the way the actor playing Doc Ra, and I'm doing him a disservice by not remembering his name.
Robert Wisdom.
Thank you. So there's something about the way Robert Wisdom was choosing to be Jagal or to be Doc Ra that reminded me very, very strongly of watching Robert McNamara.
I could see that. Definitely the same vibe was there because McNamara went from being Secretary of Defense to head of the World Bank and trying to be a man of peace afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a car salesman before he became Secretary of Defense. So.
And he did, in fact, drive the slaughter of Vietnamese, Americans. I mean, anybody who got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you handle that guilt? How do you sleep at night is, I guess, one of the questions that the Fog of War tried to answer, and it doesn't. And
I don't think
it does and it doesn't. It doesn't give us a satisfying answer. What it does is it says you lie to yourself.
Yeah, he belied himself to believe that it was the truth, because it's just like there's a lot of similarities between this, and I forgot the Cardassian's name, but there's a lot of similarities to that. But right,
yes,
but the difference is he was the secretary trying to legitimately provide a sense of justice for the Bajoran people, and then he broke down as if it were his fault, but it's not. Like, and you see the remorse and all that, whereas this Klingon did do those things, and then he did do those things. B, he ran away, and then C, he stood on his own lies of something he didn't even do.
So I think when we talk about that character and we talk about how it wasn't even his fault, we're missing the point that he's making. And the point that he is making is that, yes, it is his fault. It is his fault because he didn't stand against it.
Right. I'm saying he's part of the machine.
Yeah.
He's a cog in the machine.
Yes. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to accept responsibility for that role and for the greater role of the wrong that was done to the Bajoran people. And that's not what Doc Ra is doing.
And he's also trying to give the Bajoran people a sense of justice at the same time.
And closure, I think.
And closure, right. So, and he's willing to accept being destroyed.
Whereas this guy is trying to milk a cow.
I think he's pretty. I think that guy is pretty legitimate in what he wants to do. I think he wants peace. He wants to turn it around.
So it's like he's doing the right thing for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right thing, wrong reason.
Mm-hmm. To give a historical aspect of this, otherwise, there's a general in the Napoleonic Wars named Thomas Alexandre Dumas, and if that name sounds familiar, this is the
he is related.
Father of Alexandre Dumas. And he was the commander of Napoleon's forces in Italy, and is actually the person behind some of Napoleon's biggest victories, of which Napoleon took all of the credit for. And then because he took all that credit, he used it for Napoleon to amass his power in France. And of course, Dumas was then kicked out to Egypt. Then he got stuck imprisoned in Naples and ended up dying of stomach cancer in 1806. And so after that, that's when Napoleon's success in military starts to drop, because he doesn't have Dumas there to support him. And of course, his son Alexandre then goes and
he sounds Cardassian.
Yeah.
You mean Napoleon? Possibly.
Yeah. And then his son goes and becomes this great author and makes so many books where characters are based off of his father.
Yeah, no, he is definitely, like, Dumas is definitely working through some shit.
Yeah.
So he was working on
Dumas the Jr.
So, like, if you read Count of Monte Cristo or The Man in the Iron Mask or Three Musketeers,
I've seen Man in the Iron Mask.
They're all riffs off of his father's experiences. And there's a great book on him called The Black Count that goes over his history.
Can we talk about something? It's still done, obviously, with this particular episode, but I want to talk about Uhura for a second. So she wasn't able to 100% translate what what's the helmsman's name again?
Ortegas.
She couldn't translate it 100%, but she was pretty close. But do we remember what was it in Undiscovered Country? Uhura, she didn't understand Klingon at all. She was looking through the book. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, that was
yeah. She had
that was a
That's what I
funny
was talking
scene,
about before.
that was a funny scene, but it was the worst scene in Undiscovered Country because Uhura would have known her shit.
But they didn't write
I
it that
didn't
way
think
back
of it
then. They
like
didn't
that.
start writing the communications officer to be a linguist until
Michelle
Enterprise.
herself said she hated filming that scene because she knows she would have known her shit, and she would have been.
And then the universal
Right.
translator was already invented by that point.
Well, no, they said the universal translator would be recognized, so they have to speak language. Yeah.
And it was just so offensive because not only was it offensive to like Uhura the character, but also what Uhura represented, which was she was such a groundbreaking character because she was a black woman on the bridge, and to paraphrase Whoopi Goldberg, she wasn't no maid. Right? She was a valued member of the crew. And so to have her so many years later sitting on the bridge and being incompetent, it's bad luck, Shat. Bad luck.
I mean, because I feel like they did her dirty because I remember watching an interview and she said that one of the lines that they gave her in Undiscovered Country was "Guess who's coming to dinner," as like a haha to "Guess who's coming to dinner."
Yeah.
And she said, "I refuse to say that line," which is why where Walter Koenig ended up saying it himself.
Right.
And so, and I'll be honest with you, I did not think about the invalidity of that scene until the book scene until y'all mentioned it, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're right. Uhura would have been known. Like these people are a day away from retirement, and of course she would have known. Like
she was teaching at the academy, so she
would have known some Klingon.
She would have known some Klingon.
You ever see that In Living Color skit, The Wrath of Farrakhan?
No.
Is that the Jim Carrey one?
Yeah, Jim Carrey's Kurt. You know, Uhura there, and Farrakhan's like, and my sister, all I ever see is the back of your wig. It was like hilarious. Like she gets no props whatsoever. You gotta watch it. It's Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, they definitely gave her a lot of props. I feel like between Mariner and Uhura, I really liked that. Like it was kind of it was really sweet. It was just like the young black girl who meets the one who essentially started it all. Like that to me was like, you know what? I see what they're trying to do with this scene, and I get paradox with good Lord, can y'all click the damn button? I'm trying. Lord, okay, here.
Too bad.
Okay, there.
Isn't around to be able to see like how her character has grown, right?
Yeah.
And
she would be very happy.
Last year? Yeah, she would be very happy.
I think they ended up meeting. I think the actor.
Yeah, they met.
I think they met. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Now we just need some sort of universal weird crossover between Kelvin Uhura and this Uhura, and then have a crazy paradox parallels episode and see what happens.
It'll be directed
I was
by
a little
JJ
afraid of where you were going to go for that for a second.
No, I will never disrespect Uhura like that. Now I'll disrespect Pike, I'll disrespect Spock, but I will never disrespect Uhura ever. Nope, you'll never catch me dead doing that. Nope.
Okay.
I'll definitely disrespect Spock. Oh
well,
yeah.
They do it in the DCEU. DCU.
Yes, they do. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Pike a little here. Let's talk about Pike. Pike is in a terrible position in this entire episode.
How would a captain? Do we feel like he responded accordingly? Like because it's like he's like not necessarily in the middle, but he's just like, dang, I understand all sides, and I can't really do anything about it except just make sure you didn't murder him, did you? Okay, cool. Have a good night.
Well, I know we're very deliberately not chasing it down. We're just not.
Well, we talked about this a couple weeks ago because that there's got to be some reason that M'Benga gets demoted. from being chief medical officer. And like last year, I
And
thought
stabbing an ambassador would do that.
yeah,
Would definitely do that.
Last season, I thought they would find out about his daughter and that would be the reason. But no, that they ended up resolving that one. And now, but yeah, stabbing an ambassador, definitely, yeah.
Diplomatic immunity.
But how would they find out
Not from
unless?
Mabenga. Well, they know.
How would they
Mabenga
find
stabbed
out?
him.
Yeah, but how would they find out unless he admitted?
He might.
They could have one of those Romulan things that just recreates what happened. That was in Picard.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It could be the final episode of the season, just like how we ended last season with Una being arrested. We could have Mabenga being arrested.
I was kind of hoping we would see Angel again, but
doesn't look like it.
I would love to have the attorney come back.
Yeah.
Another episode with her.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Even though we would know the outcome, I would love to see
Nira
her. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Clearly the off-brand just yeah. I had to demote him because he got a little murdery.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I miss?
Yeah. Nice.
like there's a note in Mabenga's file. Excellent doctor, solid under pressure, does get a little murdery.
I mean, it's like
Can get a little murdery.
Is he a touch of Dr. Kevorkian? That's what we got to worry about.
Yeah. So long as you're not a Klingon war criminal, you're all right.
You know what,
Right.
Marie? We've got like Marie Flanagan. We've got about 3 minutes. Why don't you just join us? I'll send you the link. Join us, Marie.
please
Join us.
Please do.
There you go.
This is gonna be good.
Give us your closing thoughts.
Yeah, close this out.
Until that happens.
She's shy.
I know, right? You know, right? I'm imagining her reaction
Isn't
right
one
now.
Marie enough? We already got Marie.
No, in all fairness, Marie Flanagan is one of my favorite people.
Now everybody's just waiting.
She's been here before. Well, not on the show, but like she's commented like before.
Yeah, she's from Game Industry News. She's the one who got me into it.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, Marie and
Sort of
Marie,
my boss.
sort of.
Oh.
Okay, please. You can't, but you really enjoyed this. No, come on. I need to lodge a complaint. I need to lodge a complaint. Better yet, she can't hear this. So here's what happened.
You're not paying Marie enough. That's the complaint.
She needs a 25-cent raise for her awesomeness. And I need to talk with HR. And if he does not have pointy ears, I will not speak to him. I need
Any
to speak
closing
with
thoughts before we go out?
I as I said, I really like this episode. I like how difficult it is, and I like this tension that exists between accountability and a second chance, and the importance of a symbol versus what people actually need to heal, and where these tensions are is really fantastic. And the fact that we don't get a neat resolution is fabulous for me, actually. Because I think Star Trek is best when it operates in these difficult gray areas and asks its viewers and fans to have these conversations.
Does the truth matter if the outcome is good? If the outcome is a plus, does the truth matter?
Yeah.
Is it that important?
Moral dilemma.
I mean, that's a question to be asked, right?
That's a moral dilemma, and for me, it's all about the outcomes. It's all about the outcome.
I'm here for the outcomes, and the truth matters to me in a historical context, so we will not repeat it.
I would just like to say,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I sound like a good student.
Keith,
You do.
I mean, Ken, I mean,
Kevlin, Calvin. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh,
no,
I think Keith's gonna get a little
We're
murdery.
sorry.
Keith's about to get a little murdery.
All right, Keith.
I didn't do it. I swear. I
All right, so we're gonna end on that.